Hello, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. You're welcome to this live interaction. You're welcome to this live interaction. I'll wait a bit to see how many people are able to join. I had promised you earlier today that I'll be coming live at 7 p.m. for us to discuss 5 lessons from that ugly video that went viral of an Uyo-based lawyer who was shown violating his wife. I don't know how many of us have seen that video. I promised you I'll be coming live at 7 p.m. for us to discuss it, and that's why I'm here now. So whether you're joining me from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, I'm happy to have you, and I will also be happy to take any questions or have you, send your contributions, your comments, your thoughts on this conversation. And please, I'll be most grateful if you can just drop in the comment section where you're watching me from. Please, I would really appreciate that. Can you just comment? Let me know where you're watching from. Are you here in Abuja with me? Are you watching me from the UK? Are you in Lagos? Wherever. Just let me know. Let me know in the comment section. And you can also invite your friends and family to join us in this conversation. We learn every day when we interact. And for all of you who know me, Chomo Nyenucheya Uko, the Zest family lawyer, I'm all about enlightening conversations around family law issues. And of course, this is one of such. Though this is not an episode of the Late Night Intercourse, it is an intercourse regardless. Okay, so just as I had promised, I don't know how many of you saw that video, but let me just summarize what I witnessed, what I saw from the video. So it was a video of, I think some neighbors who intervened by coming to save a woman who was being physically assaulted by her husband. The man, obviously had beaten her, and whether in trying to run for her life, save her life, she had run outside the house naked or almost naked, She had just a singlet and her pants on, her underpants. And the man was still demanding for something from her, I think a key or something like that. And you could see that she was bleeding. Yes, the camera caught that much. And thankfully, the person who recorded that video didn't quite show the face of the victim. I was quite relieved by that. Except there's another variant. He's their neighbor. Oftentimes he will hear the woman from their flat or from somewhere, and that this was always happening. And the person was accosting the man and asking him, why was he always behaving like that? And the first thing that struck me by hearing that is, how come victims sometimes do not realize that by their silence, by their tolerance, that they enable their violators. So if it had happened once, chances are that it will happen again. Which also means that if those neighbors did not quickly rally to, save that woman that night, and if that video hadn't gone viral like it did, she probably would still have remained in that situation, not sharing her pains with anyone, and not leaving that toxic relationship. Why do we excuse abuse? Why do we keep silent in the face of degrading violations? Please, do not enable violence by tolerating it. Do not enable violence by keeping quiet. Don't do that. Keeping quiet does not wish it away. No matter how sorry your violator pretends to be, no matter the tears they cry after any episode of beating, abuse in any form, they rarely ever change. Chances are that they will inflict more pain. So keeping quiet doesn't save you. Speak up. You never can tell who may be able to help. Please. And that takes me to the second lesson, which is that most abusers are cowards. In fact, all abusers are cowards. They are cowards. If they were not, they will not want to show might or inflict pain on a vulnerable person. They will not want to show their might on a weaker person. Anybody who derives any form of pleasure, any sadistic pleasure, by inflicting pain, by beating, by subjugating, by terrorizing, by humiliating someone they are bigger than, is a coward. And it played out very well in that video. Did you notice that when those men came, when those neighbors came and accosted the man and challenged him, he ran back inside his house and actually locked the door. He bolted the burglary proof actually. He didn't want them coming close because he knew he would be no match for them. He knew that all his might, all the energy he had, all the muscle and power that was brimming in him was just for that weak woman he was supposed to protect. But when he saw those who were ready to match him man to man, no, he fled. So next time somebody is showing power, when next somebody is abusing you, whether physically or otherwise, don't you go thinking that all of that humped up. No, it's no might, it's no power. That person is a coward. Behind the facade of power, strength that he depicts is a very despicable, powerless weakling who needs to be challenged, who needs to be stopped, who should not be excused or tolerated. Abusers are cowards, and that clearly showed in that video. The way he took to his heels when those men came, first by trying to lock his gate until they pushed their way in, and then proceeding to lock the burglary proof into maybe his own flat, will tell you that he was no match. He knew he'll be no match for anybody who wanted to, take him up on a duel. But he felt it was okay to pummel a woman. And a woman in his care, a woman who is supposed to be in his care, his wife. Abusers are cowards. Don't even let their pretense of strength, deceive you. They are a bunch of cowards, and that clearly showed in that video. And then the other thing I want to talk about, which I observed in that video, is that oftentimes you find victims of violence telling you that they are staying because of their loved ones. I have to stay because of the children. If not for the children, I would have left. If not for my aged mom, if not for A, if not for B, if not for C. My sweetheart, if you become a fatal casualty, those people will survive. And the lesson I need you to take from that video, if you had seen it, or if you hadn't, you can search for it online. I'm sure it's all over the place. It actually went viral. I saw it. One of the lessons I want you to take from that foul video is that in that moment of vulnerability, that woman was recorded by those who came to intervene to save her life. And that shows what the children of that marriage have been witnessing. Do you realize that your children witnessing you in a humiliating, weak situation, in a situation where you are violated, where you are shredded of every human dignity by someone who is supposed to protect you? Can you begin to imagine for a moment what it does to the sensibilities of your children? Can you imagine for a moment the havoc it wreaks in their mindset? Have you given a thought to what it does to their psyche, to their emotions? And you think staying in that abusive situation protects them better than walking away to preserve whatever dignity you have left? Just imagine that video. So while the face of the woman, I didn't see her face, so I'm going to assume her face didn't show, except maybe I didn't see a full clip. But if I am right and what I saw was the full clip and her face didn't show, regardless her face not showing, anybody who saw the face of the man who is the violator, that beast, and who knows the family will put two and two together to know who that woman was, regardless her face not being shown. Does that not mean that these children, she probably, I'm just assuming, this woman she probably stayed back in that marriage for, are likely to be taunted by, undiscerning people, by people who don't know better, particularly maybe their peers, children. How dignifying is it for anybody to see your mother in her underpants, bleeding, crying, running for her life? How dignifying can that be? Can you imagine the heartache those children will live with? Can you just imagine it for a moment? And that's just the little clip we saw on camera. Who knows what has been going on in that home, particularly when a neighbor had said it was a frequent scenario. Who knows how many images of such the children had seen, had witnessed, had to consume? Who can just imagine that? So please, let me advise. It is not safer at all for you to stay. You are not protecting your loved ones better by staying. Sometimes you may just be helping them retain some dignity or redeem some dignity by walking away and saying no to abuse. Sometimes you may just be saving everybody. Please quit that excuse. Because like I said earlier, God forbid, if you become one of the statistics for casualty, that also means that all the people you stayed back for will have to live without you. Which is better? Staying to be alive? Living to be alive, or staying there to be rolled out as a carcass? And the other lesson I think we need to take away is that we need not be deceived. We need not be deceived. Academic qualifications, all those titles, all those social status, most of those things, sir, pastor, lawyer, barrister, this and that, all of those things do not translate to enlightenment. There are people who are very archaic in their thoughts, in their mindset, regardless the exposure they should have gotten by their level of education and by, the interactions. Many people have a closed mindset. They are fixated on a poor orientation they got from their immediate environment, maybe from the examples that were set for them by the parents, or by some ideals somebody had projected for them. don't you go, losing your guards just because you hear that someone is a woman of God, a man of God, a prophet or prophetess, a learned person, quote and unquote, doctor and all of those. No. They don't necessarily translate to enlightenment. There are people who, despite all of this, acquisition of qualifications, despite all of the status and prefixes that they are fixed to their names, are still very barbaric, beastly in their thoughts and in their conduct, persons of little or no integrity. There are many of them who are low lives, forgive my language. It's height abuse, any form of violence, particularly in domestic spaces. If there's anywhere you should feel the safest, it should be in your home. It should be with your loved ones. It should be in your immediate family. If you were running away from danger or anything, that should be your place of safety and succor, not the other way around. So don't go losing your guts just because somebody comes telling you they're, professor this and that. Hell no. Understudy everybody, observe them clearly before you let them into your space, before you declare them fit for any close or intimate relationship. Interrogate their mindset, and don't make excuses for those red and pink flags. Don't. It doesn't matter if they have extended that attitude towards you, that you even observe them do it to someone else, tells you what they'll do to you one day. Yes. So don't make any excuses for any kind of violence. Don't make excuse for it. The littlest one is just a preamble for what is to be served you in future. And you deserve better. You deserve to live a life of dignity. You deserve to be accorded every respect. And the last lesson I'd like for you to take from that video is that each of us, you and I, have a role to play in protecting victims of violence. Sometimes the reason they don't speak up, sometimes the reason they don't come to us is because they don't trust that we will be able to lend them the support, the help they need. Those neighbors in that video deserve every commendation for rising to the task of protecting that vulnerable woman. Some people will say, I don't want to put my mouth for it, no concern me. I mean, when they go settle their matter. Really? It may not directly concern you today, but when you turn away from that episode of abuse, you are enabling worse, and the next victim may be your sister or your daughter. Yes. So don't make those excuses. Do the bit you can. Yes, we can't save everybody, because regardless what you do, there are those victims who, unless you carry them and bundle them out of that situation, they don't get they may never gain the clarity of thought, the presence of mind to say no and preserve themselves. So you can only do what you can do, but please do something. It could even be just by helping to escalate a situation that has been brought to your notice. The only reason that video went viral was because people shared. Of course, I do not subscribe to the blind sharing of everything we encounter. No, I certainly don't, because sometimes you are just right borderline on committing an offense. But anything you can do to save a victim of violence, please do it. And it took those neighbors rising that night to say no to save that woman. As at now, I've heard that, I know that the NBA president has sent a delegation to Uyo to go and investigate the matter, since the perpetrator is alleged to be a lawyer. I know that the Minister of Women Affairs thankfully has intervened to also insist that the perpetrator be brought to book. I hear that the government of Akwa Ibom State has also condemned the barbaric act. So all of these reactions, all of these are happening because you and I said no, because people took a step. So without necessarily waiting for the victim to say, please help me, people actually saw that she needed to be helped, and they took the step to ensure that she got the help she needed. So yes, you and I can do something. So when next we find that friend, that sister, that brother, that person, that neighbor, that church member who is going through abuse and choosing to be a martyr and say, it is well, it ain't well nothing. It isn't well one bit. In any case, it's not just a crime or an offense against you, it's also an offense against the state. So even if the state is not going to respond because you are complaining, the state will respond because you have offended the law of the state. Yes. I think I'll rest it here. I promised you 5 lessons, and I've given you 5. I'll just check to see what your questions are so that I respond to them, or if there is any comment, I'll just check to see. Ital says great. Thank you, Ital. That's just all. I'll just check to see if there are comments. This is a shame. I think we need to take the lessons from these things, because it is hard today, it could be anybody else tomorrow. Yes, thank God she didn't become casualty in the sense of, a fatality, but it could have. The people we have heard that died, some of them didn't even go through an intense bout of abuse, yet death happened. Yeah, my brother Oman Dave says we're all in it together, and together we unleash the dragon. Yeah. Uche says I'm right. Yeah, greetings. Ngo, thank you, darling. Gozi Matthew. Hi, good evening. Ene Alu says good evening, good evening. Hi. Aija Kahara, good evening. Maureen, good evening, Derry. Hi, everyone. I think this needs to stop. This needs to stop. Let's condemn all forms of abuse, particularly the abuses that happen within the domestic spaces. Let's say no. They can't continue. They can't continue. I'm checking to see if we're live on Instagram. Can someone confirm that we are? I can't find it here. Can someone confirm to me? Can I get a confirmation? Okay, yes, I see that we are. Okay, I just see that we have people joining us, but I don't see any comments. Okay. All right, so let me check if there are comments on YouTube so that I don't skip a question or a comment. Let me check so I don't skip a question or a comment. Okay, there is also no question. So I think this will be a good place to rest it. Like I said, this is not an episode of the Late Night Intercourse. I felt strongly led to lend a voice against that despicable abuse, and then I also felt it was an opportunity to enlighten some who may not quite know of some of the lessons we should take away from that video. And I'm hoping that, just in line with the theme for this year, 16 days of activism against violence, though that ended on the 10th of December, but it is a campaign that continues at least until the next year's observance. And that is to say that we should all unite to prevent violence against women and girls. It doesn't make you stronger when you inflict violence against a weaker person. No, you don't portray yourself with any strength at all. So I hope that we take these lessons and protect ourselves from getting in conflict with the law. I'm sure now that someone who should ordinarily be a noble, being a lawyer, has now exposed himself to an infraction against the law by that action. And he may be cooling off in a cell or somewhere. He will be arraigned in court and all of those. And he may be serving a term because of a moment of indiscretion. Let's learn discipline. We can say no without being violent. Even when we feel offended, even when we feel provoked,